This is probably the most helpful tool that I've ever owned in my life, and I'm literally kicking myself in the buttocks because I did not buy it sooner. If you are somebody that does a lot of work by themselves, you definitely need to check this out. This, my friend, is the Jawhorse from Rockwell. Today we're going to use and abuse, we're going to go over all the specs, what you can do with it. We'll talk about build quality. Again, I'll show you how to set it up, take it apart. We'll even talk about the one thing that I don't care for so much on this. Now, I'm going to start out by saying I paid $179 on Amazon for this. I'll leave a link in the description below for you to check it out. Now, it's not a new tool. It's actually been out for some time now, but that price tag, I used to see it and say, is it really worth it? But if you're a subscriber to this channel, which I'm sure you are, you've probably heard me complaining about the clamps that I've been using. They wiggle off, they vibrate off, and I just said enough is enough. I'm going to pull the trigger and I'm going to really see if this thing is worth the cost. But before we use and abuse, let's take a look at what this thing basically looks like when it comes out of the box. There you go. Now, there's no assembly required at all with this Jawhorse. To give you a sort of a size comparison, that is a Milwaukee Fastback. And that was right next to it. I wanted you to see that it's really not that big, but you do have a roller right up on front. I'll talk to you about that here in a bit. I'll show you what that does. But man, let me tell you something. As soon as I got this thing out, the build quality of this thing is just unbelievable. Now, you do have a post right here. Well, let me show you this here. So you got that roller. You're going to be able to move this thing back and forth if you want to drag it behind you. It glides very smoothly. You see that post right there? We got to take this out. It's almost like a handle. It's going to work as two different functions. Let me show you what I'd be talking about. So you just pull it out like so. You can see it goes down into that little holder right there, and it'll swing up. When you swing it up, well, now you can use it as a handle, and you can basically push or pull this thing anywhere you go. And that is the functionality of those rollers. Very, very nicely built roller, very heavy duty, and should not have to worry about it ever falling apart. And I will stress the build quality on this unit many, many times in this video because it is there. But now, what happens if I want to set it up? All right, so you got two legs right here. All you have to do is sort of flip this thing over, and that is the one drawback to this thing here. It is a little bit heavier, but because of that build quality, I don't mind it. We're going to flip it up on end like so. You can store it like that if you want, but you bring those legs down. You bring the right side, then you bring the left side, and they will automatically lock into place. Then right over here, you have your foot switch or your foot lock. This will work as a couple different functions as well. I'll show you that here. All you got to do is bring that down. Very simple to do, like so. Or if you wanted to, you could keep it up, and then once you get everything set up, all the legs, the tripod set up, then you can bring it down. It doesn't matter, whatever you feel like doing at the time. So let me show you this now because I'm probably going to forget later in the video. This little foot pedal here that you use to crank everything in and lock everything down. Well, if you want to bring that back up, you can't unless you pull down on that little metal switch because it sort of locks into place. So if you want to bring that back up for storage, just pull down on that and then lift up, and that is how that will go back up inside. Oh, and by the way, if you could smash that like button, well, that would be greatly, greatly appreciated. So this is your third leg. Now, you're probably used to having 4 legs on some type of sawhorse, but this has 3. We'll talk about that here in a bit. But you can see it comes down, and then you just push down in on it, or you can bring it back out and then close it back up if you want. So it goes all the way up for your handle. You're going to drag this thing, it goes all the way back down for storage, or if you go in and push down on it like so, well, that is your third leg. And once you get that third leg adjusted, well, you just tighten it down so it doesn't move on you, and that's it. And the build quality on that knob is also real nice like. So now that you have all of your legs in position, you can bring it down to the floor or whatever you're going to do. Check this out though. Okay, now if you wanted to use this as a regular sawhorse, well, you could. You got that sliding plate right here. I'll show you the rubber overmolds here in a second. But you can fit something up to about 37 inches into this. But if you wanted to buy 2 of them, again, you could use this as regular sawhorses just like this. But that is not all that this thing can do, my friend. Check this out. You got a lock and unlock switch right here. What do you use this for? Well, I'm going to show you right now. So we're going to switch this out again. We're going to take it out and bring it back in because we're not going to use anything that big. We're going to bring this up, and you can see that you got 2 rubber pads smacking up against each other. We got a fairly large, around 5-inch steel pipe. And my issue during the video shoots when I'm cutting with a Sawzall, there's so much vibration. If I try to clamp these things down, they're just jiggling everywhere and everything comes loose and I get upset and it just makes me really unhappy. So check this out. I'm going to take this 4.5 to 5 inch steel pipe. I'm going to slide it in like so. Now if I wanted to clamp this down, if I wanted to use a recip saw or a bandsaw on this, well, check this out. That little foot peg right there, well, if I push down on that, what that is doing is clamping the system down. And I'll show you this here up close and personal here in a bit. But when you put that on a lock button, check this out. You push down and it locks it into place. Now, if I was done with my cut and I wanted to unlock it, I just step on it again and boom, it's unlocked. But we're going to keep it locked here and we're going to move over to our steel pipe and check this out. Now, if I wanted to cut or whatever, that thing is not going anywhere. This thing gives you 2,200 pounds of clamping force. Not to mention you got 600 maximum load capacity on it. And once I'm done making my cut, I just come over, unlock it, click that foot switch again, and open it up. That's it. That's all you got to do. Now, this also comes with anti-neighbor borrowing technology. But you say you don't know what that is. Well, let me show you because my neighbor was eyeballing this when I brought it home, and this is what happened.
Yo, bro, you just get this? Hey, man, can I borrow for like 5 minutes?
Yeah, bro, go ahead and take it. Go ahead.
Right on, bro. I'm gonna grab it right now.
No!
Oh, yo, bro, I just wanted to borrow for a couple weeks, but let me out. I'll never bother you again, bro.
Yep, absolutely love the anti-neighbor borrowing technology. I spent way too much time on that clip. All right, let me show you this here at a different angle. We got to treat it 6x6. So if you're working by yourself, well, check it out. You're just basically clamping down on that and then lock it and boom. Lock it down and it's tighter than all get up. That thing is not going anywhere. Let me prove it to you. I weigh about, 240-ish pounds, but I'm pushing down on this. You know what? Let me do this. I'm going to get up on top of her. Yeah. It's not going anywhere. Now, obviously, the way this is designed, the closer you are to that sawhorse when you're putting pressure down, the better off you are. You know, it will want to tip if you're out too far, so you got to be careful with that. You can, however, put bolts in the feet, so they won't go anywhere. But if you're doing wood carving or just doing anything that you're trying to work on, you want it in front of you, you don't want to bend down, check that out. Up to 37 inches you can put in this Jawhorse and it'll clamp it down with an amazing clamping force. Again, 2,200. You lock it, it's not going anywhere. You unlock it, you take it out, you're good to go. It is just a monster. Now what's nice about this is even if you unlock it, it won't fall out on you. You still have to push down on that foot pedal before it will loosen back up again. So it's sort of like a safety feature, which is nice to see on here. Now as for damage, don't worry about it. This thing has some really heavy duty pads on the front of this, on the back of this, and then on the other clamp. So if you do come up and try to put a little bit too much force, you're not going to really damage it per se, or you're not going to scratch paint because it is protected. And those things are about a 1/2 inch thick on each one of the clamps. On the back, you're looking about a 1/4 inch thick. It's just a really heavy duty freaking thing. But as far as it goes with the actual clamping itself, check it out. Very, very smooth. It's very controlled. Once it hits that material, you're going to feel a lot of pressure, and then you just lock it down and it won't go anywhere. Now, again, if you want to, you can slide that out, bring it all the way out like this, and then you can clamp down larger pieces of material or whatever you're doing. On this particular unit, you will not be able to do a 4x8 sheet of plywood, but they do have other units, larger units, smaller units, so maybe you don't need anything this big. But let me show you how this thing basically works. Now again, you can see I'm pushing down on that foot pedal and it just brings it in. You can see it clicks in. Well, how is it doing that? Well, let me show you here. Right here, you can see that when I push down on that pedal, it reaches up and those two claws grab that and then slide it in. And then when it brings it in, it grabs another set of clamps. Well, just, you know what? Just let me show you. That's the underneath, and that is what the claws are grabbing. And when it grabs it, it pulls it in closer, and then it pulls it in closer, and it just keeps on grabbing. And what's nice about that is you don't have to guess where that rail system goes. You just slide it on, and it automatically does the work. Now, for the legs themselves, again, extremely heavy duty. And that clamp will just bring that back up here. But you also have those automatic locks right there. they are not going to damage. What I usually notice about sawhorses is that, you know, you buy a pair, they look great, they look really heavy duty, and then you get them home and there's always like a cheap piece of plastic somewhere, but that is not the case on this tool. If you're closing it up, well, just loosen that up, bring it up, close those legs up, slide that in like so, tighten it down, and that is it. And if you want to stand it up in a corner, you can stand it up in a corner. Let me say this, I bought this with my own money. I have nothing to do with Rockwell Tools. Matter of fact, they didn't even give me a like when I tagged them in social media posts. So that ought to tell you, they have nothing to do with this channel. This thing is freaking awesome. The build quality, it's just out of control. Like, as soon as you pull it out of the box, like, you know it's there. You're just saying to yourself, wow, I can't believe it. This will last you forever, unless you run it over with a tank, and even then it would probably still work. It is just so well done. It's a little bit heavy, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if, you know, you're petite or if you have trouble maybe lifting things. You're probably looking around 50 pounds for this thing, so it's not the lightest out there. It does take a little bit to set up. It's not the easiest, you know, you gotta pull those legs out. You just have to work with it and get used to it. The one downside that I do see with this is that the front leg, it is a little bit thinner, so if you're working out in the mud, maybe you're not on a concrete pad all the time, because let's face it, not a perfect world, right? It could sink down into the mud. The other 2 feet, they are very large, the 2 in the back. You can bolt those down if you want to, but even if you put them down on dirt or uneven terrain, they're not going anywhere. They got a nice spread on them. They did a very good job on that. As far as he goes with it being tipsy, would I have loved to have seen 4 legs? Yeah, probably, but you know what? As long as you cut a little bit closer to the actual Jawhorse and not all the way out like 500 feet, you're not going to have to worry about this thing tipping at all, especially if you put the bolts in the feet, if you're using this in the shop and you just leave it in one position. So just so excellent. Just, I wish I would have bought this. I just wish I would have bought this years ago. Again, I'll leave a link in the description below. I want to know what you think. I'm sure somebody out there probably has one of these. What do you like about them? What don't you like about them? Leave me a comment in the comment section. I love hearing your feedback. Now, if you like this video, please don't forget to smash that like button, as it greatly helps and I'd appreciate it. Also, if you like tools and you want to see some new stuff coming to the channel, well, hit that subscribe button and that bell notification so you don't miss those videos. Again, I appreciate you stopping by. With that, we'll be back with more videos soon.